Hello and welcome once again to Outland Japan. I am your host, Peter Carnell, a travel guide based in northern Nagano, and this, as always, is a podcast of stories that lie beyond the big cities, stories of travel, life and culture in rural, regional and the wilds of Japan. In today's episode, we travel to Niigata Prefecture, just to the north of where I am based, and onto the beautiful heavy snow area of Minami-Uonuma to speak with Kuwakino Keiko. Keiko is the head chef of Sanaburi, the Michelin-Starred restaurant within the renowned guest house of Satoyama Jujo. Awarded that Michelin star in 2020, Keiko has since gone on to receive awards both in Japan and abroad and is increasingly recognized as one of Japan's best chefs. Needless to say, I was very pleased when she was gracious enough to agree to speak with me. Keiko was a wonderful guest. In the first half of our chat, we'll explore Keiko's own story and her journey to becoming head chef at Satoyama Jujo, before delving more fully into the principles and methods which underpin her cooking and the cuisine she serves in the second half of our chat. One of the primary motivations for this podcast is to take you away from the big cities and introduce the travel, lifestyle and cultural experiences you won't discover in Tokyo, Kyoto and Osaka. As a guide myself, I know one of the biggest motivations for people traveling to Japan is the food. And in telling Keiko's story and the new culinary traditions she is forging based on wild plants, fermentation and snow aging techniques that have long sustained the people in this place of heavy snow, I hope to promote the fact that some of Japan's best gastronomic experiences lie outside the cities. It makes sense, no? After all, this is where the produce is coming from. One of Japan's most famous rice and sake producing areas, Minami-Uonuma and the surrounding region of Niigata is a place of abundance and beauty. We've actually visited it here before in episode 24 when I spoke with Shoko Baba of Hakai-san Brewery, one of Niigata's most celebrated sake breweries. Keeping in mind that Niigata is Japan's largest producer of sake, boasting the most breweries of any prefecture, Hakai-san Brewery is only 30 minutes drive from Satoyama Jujo, the two destinations going hand in hand for anyone headed to the area. If you've not listened to that episode, please make sure to go back and do so. You'll find a link in the show notes. Should you be interested in following Keiko online or booking with Satoyama Jujo, you'll find links to her Instagram and Satoyama Jujo's website in the show notes. You can also follow the podcast on our Instagram, Facebook and YouTube by searching Outland Japan. I'd love for you to follow or like the pages, and of course, reviewing the pod on whichever app you're listening is of huge help. I can't stress that enough. Now, here's my chat with Keiko. I hope you enjoy. My guest on the podcast today is Kuwakino Keiko, the multi-awarded head chef at Satoyama Jujo, a renowned guest house in Minami-Uonuma in Niigata. Keiko, thank you for joining me. How are you?
Hi, thank you. Thank you for having me today. Good, I'm good.
So Keiko, you are the head chef at Sanaburi, the restaurant within Satoyama Jujo. As I mentioned, it's located in Minami-Uonuma in Niigata. So this is really the deep snow country. And until very recently, this podcast was called Snow Country Stories Japan. So I'm always interested to talk about that. Mm-hmm. Let's start there, though. Can you please describe Satoyama Jujo to me? What type of hotel, what type of guest house is it?
Satoyama Jujo, yes, again located in Minami-Uonuma, with Niigata, in the mountainside of Niigata. We used the 150 years old farmer's house. We renovated old farmer house using great furniture in this old-fashioned house in the mountain.
So it's very much a high-end hotel. In terms of the size of the hotel, do you know how many rooms are there? And what are the amenities, like onsen, things like this?
We have 13 rooms. And also we have a hot spring, natural hot spring, and air bath, outside air bath too. And view is incredible.
Yeah, the setting looks fantastic. I haven't had the chance to go myself yet, but it looks incredible. But the thing that brought Satoyama... thank you. The thing that brought Satoyama Jujo to my attention is yourself. And as I mentioned, you are the head chef at Sanaburi, the restaurant within the hotel. So for anyone looking to stay at Satoyama Jujo or to eat at Sanaburi, again, what type of experience can they expect when coming to the restaurant?
We are cooking for like a Japanese cuisine. But it's the talking of Japanese cuisine. It's not like a kaiseki, like a Kyoto kind of style, using rich broths and seasonal like things. But we also use like a natural ingredients. Most of this the local produce. When they come to here, it's more traditional, like a regional in Niigata cuisine they can experience.
And you've been the head chef at Sanaburi since 2018, is that correct?
Yes, exactly. Yes, that's correct. As a head chef.
And as you mentioned there, you're building on a very rich food tradition that already exists in that part of Niigata. Can you talk to me about the food that you're creating and kind of principles or the ideas that underpin your cooking?
Principle for me, I would definitely, I go to mountain every day. This is my principle. To expect the winter season. Again, here is such a heavy snow area. I can't go outside. And we can go to outside, but not to the mountain. It's not a good idea. But it's except the winter season, such a long winter. But that's my rule. Is have to go, even not this frozen, but I want to see the change of season every day in the mountain. You cannot believe, but it's like every few days can see this change the seasonal. That's the inspire me a lot to my cuisine. So the natural surrounding area, everything that's the old includes my food, my cuisine.
Yeah, it's an area which I know well. So I've mentioned on the podcast before, and I mentioned to you before we started speaking today, that my wife is from this area. So it's where I first lived in Japan. And it's an area known for its winters, and around that, everything is kind of built around that. Am I correct? That if it's not winter, you're getting ready for the winter. And a lot of the food culture is dictated by the need to prepare your food for the winter.
Yes. We start like December, we start snowing here till let's say early April, we still have a snow here. It's so heavy snow. Like, I don't know how much, but it's like you can see the snow wall. It's such a long winter. So it's 5 months under snow.
And as a result, am I correct in thinking it's a much shorter growing season there, much shorter spring, summer, and autumn compared to other areas of Japan, which creates challenges in terms of food production in that area, but also creates a unique food culture?
Actually, to be honest, first when it comes to here, I didn't think here is like a unique food culture is there. For me, the first my image is just because when I get here the first time, it's winter. I still remember, which is the 4th of January, 11 years ago. It's here completely white. There's nothing. And then my boss told me, okay, you have to use this local produce. And how? There's nothing. It's winter, so there's nothing. For me, my first image of here is such a poor countryside in snow. I feel so sorry to them. They don't do anything. But that is not true. This culture is so unique, and I discovered so many stuff since I'm living here. It's like they have such a beautiful knowledge how they survive in the winter season. It's not just recently. They have like a German period has a culture here, which is like more than 8,000 years ago. People living here in snow country. They're just so unique. I'm still discovering. I'm not, know everything. I'm still learning. There's so many things. It's not just once, two times to spend here to learn something. No, this is like you have to live here. I learned everything here.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because it's my understanding that area of Niigata historically was kind of looked down upon in Japan. It was referred to as Ura Nihon.
Yes.
The backside of Japan.
Yes, exactly. Basically. That's you're right.
There's a geographical sense to that. We were talking about the North Coast rather than the Pacific Coast, but also it was kind of seen as literally the backside, that there was no culture there. It was a very desperate and poor area. And it sounds like when you first moved there, that was kind of what you were expecting, but you discovered a much richer lifestyle and food culture and everything else that's happening there.
Yeah, right. That's my past experience also that. Then also this is my image of that, the area. Like you said, Ura Nihon that we call like, of course, geographic way, but it's mainly like the Tokyo area or Kyoto, Tokyo area is more culture, it's more developing a lot. Yeah, that's the image of this area.
Which leads me to ask, Keiko, where are you originally from and how did you end up there?
Yeah, I'm originally from Saitama, where it's just next to Tokyo. So I kind of feel like I'm growing up in Tokyo area. And then in my young, like when I was teenage, I never ever think about want to go to countryside. I hate countryside. Sorry, hate. No, it's not hate. I doesn't like to go to the countryside. I don't like insect. I don't like frogs. I don't like it's kind of all the stuff. I just doesn't like it. So then yeah, I never think about to move to countryside when I was a teenager.
So it's also my understanding that you came to your career in food kind of late, and that your journey to becoming a chef, a very renowned multi-award winning chef now, started outside of Japan as a therapist in Australia. So again, am I correct in saying that? And may I ask you, what took you to Australia?
That's quite a good question, because I was not the purpose to go to Australia at all. My first plan to want to go to France, because again, I didn't like English. I didn't want to speak English. My English such a so poor. My score in school, the English score is such a bad, almost like a bottom. So then I choose the France because I working in a therapist in Tokyo. So France for me, like I can learn something more like as a therapist. But somehow I couldn't go to France, and then just end up, I don't know, maybe I feel like someone took me to Australia. This is not my plan at all, because I quit the job because I was planning to go to France. That somehow I couldn't get the visa in France. So then I have a time and money. So, and also I told for my friends, I'm going to France. So, and I have to do something. So then somehow someone told me to Australia, there's something you should go, something like there's Ayurvedic school or something like that. Then I thought, okay, anyway, I have no choice. Maybe I should go to just maybe 5 months or something, just go to Australia and then coming back to Japan, doing something again. I didn't think about to stay in Australia for a long time.
Which part of Australia did you go to?
Gold Coast.
Gold Coast. So I got to ask about that.
And Byron Bay.
Okay, well, Byron Bay, all right, I get that. But so your original plan was to go to France, and you ended up landing on the Gold Coast in Australia.
Yeah.
So, quite the difference.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And then while you were there, you studied Ayurvedic therapy. Took you on to India.
Yeah, because since I was in Australia, I learned Ayurvedic, and I'm curious about the concept of Ayurvedic. It's all this stuff, and then I think about I should go to India because that's original from the Ayurvedic. And also I practice yoga. I want to learn more about all the stuff. Then I go to India. I was in India for 2 years.
Once you returned to Japan, may I ask, did you return to Tokyo? And from there, how did you end up in Minami-Uonuma, where you are now?
After kind of traveling in this world and learning some things, and then I feeling like I'm back to Japan. And then because my hometown is in Tokyo, then back to Tokyo, working in I kind of combine everything. Like I teach yoga in Tokyo. Also, I work in a vegan restaurant. It was great, but it's after 2 years, I feeling like it's not the grounding in Tokyo. I feeling like something like Tokyo is great, but I feeling like I feel not the grounding in. Then I found it's quite also interesting, because when I went to library in Tokyo, I found it's like a magazine. And then they said that's end up this magazine it's my company. My company also published a magazine. Then I found this magazine in the library. They announced they opened a new eco hotel concept in mountainside in Niigata. And it sounds like me. So I just applied for the job. And also, the restaurant which I work in, a vegan restaurant in Tokyo, the owner also already think about to close up that restaurant. Then she asked me you like to take over this restaurant? But I choose go to Niigata. So it's closer than India. Niigata is close. So it's for me, Niigata, just to go to there to see what they're doing.
And you've already mentioned that when you came to Minami-Uonuma, you didn't really know much about the area. And my understanding is from watching the program that featured you on NHK World, your initial reaction to moving there wasn't fantastic. You didn't exactly love it.
No, again, I was there in winter, January. So many heavy snow. And then because I'm growing up in Tokyo area, I never seen such a heavy snow. I'm kind of shocked. Oh my God, how can I survive in such a snow country? Even the driving, it's everything. It's just, I have no idea how I can survive in there. It's kind of, first day, I kind of, oh my God, it's a bit regret. I mean, it's a bit depressed. Oh my God, how many, yeah.
And so that transition wasn't the easiest, but I was kind of curious when I watched the program and you were talking about that. Why did you choose to stay? Why not just return to Tokyo? Why did you keep going?
I think also, I don't know what's called it in English, but we call makezugirai in Japanese. Makezugirai. So, but also because if you go there, I want to do something. You're not just coming back. You haven't experienced anything. Why you come back? So once I decided I want to do something done, then I want to back to Tokyo, whatever, next journey. But you choose something, it's better to do something. So you never know what's happening after that. So I just promised myself, okay, at least 1 year I have to be stayed to see the whole season.
One thing I hear from a lot of people about these communities in rural areas in Japan, especially in the snow country areas, is that they're kind of cold people. They're very hard to get to know them. That hasn't been my experience at all. As a foreigner living in these areas, and I first lived out in that area, I've always found those communities to be very welcoming and very supportive to people who want to come and be part of the community. And was that your experience, that the community there is supportive and very helpful?
Definitely, yes, definitely. Also, because I have no idea what's the food culture here, what's their traditional food here, but all about this they told me, like a local oji-chan, oba-chan, local auntie, uncle, everyone support me where I can get the vegetables or where I can get this mountain vegetables. Everything support me teach me everything. Say so supportive and helps me and to welcome me to the community.
Yeah, that's really fantastic. So, Keiko, it's my understanding that you actually first began at Satoyama Jujo in 2014, and then you became head chef in 2018, so in 4 years.
Yes.
Again, it sounds like there was a lot to learn on that journey as well. Can I ask, why do you think you succeeded? Why could you achieve what you've achieved in that time?
I don't know, but also I told you, to be honest, when I become head chef, I was kind of shaking. I told this my boss, no, I cannot do this head chef. I don't think not the right position. I'm a head chef. I like to cooking here, but it's head chef is a totally different story. Also, we have an ex-head chef. He is training in like a 3 Michelin Kyoto restaurant. He's a proper kaiseki super chef. And then come to me as a head chef because people expected Satoyama Jujo more like a modern, beautiful Japanese cuisine. I don't think I can do it. I can help head chef, but not I'm in the position for head chef. First 2 years for me as a head chef, so hard time. I was crying when I'm back home. I never cry in the kitchen. But it's sometimes so tough because also guests expect a lot, but I just be in the kitchen all the time. Everyone, I only the first one to come to the kitchen, the one to stay kitchen, the late one. Now it's kind of a little bit I'm still nervous in the kitchen. Not the nervous, I kind of like, okay, I have to do this. Always talk to myself, okay, I can do it. More nice, a little bit relaxed now after that, but it's such a tough time, a challenging time for me.
Well, obviously you're doing something quite good. So in recent years, you've been very widely awarded and increasingly recognized as one of Japan's leading chefs. In 2020, you and Sanaburi, Satoyama Jujo, won a Michelin-Star. In 2022, you won a Terroir Award and were awarded 15.5 points by Gault Millau, the French restaurant guide, in the same year. You've also been nominated as one of Japan's 100 best chefs.
Yes, correct. But yeah, thank
Okay.
you.
How do you feel to be so widely recognized and acclaimed?
First of all, it's such an honor to get this award, but it's for me, it's wow, that's too much. Like, feeling like, wow. Yeah.
It must be especially rewarding to be recognized both in Japan and internationally, though.
Yeah, it's been surprised, and also, but I like to, because since I back to Japan, I like to do something for connect to some overseas. But since I come back to Japan and deep into the local, deep into in Japan, I didn't think about. I feel like I'm kind of stuck in country, not the stuck in, but it's in the countryside, kind of like a close in the countryside in the snow country. Maybe I don't go to anymore to overseas, but it's now actually people come from this overseas a lot. The guests, but also this media. Oh yeah, it's so appreciate.
So, Keiko, I'd like to discuss the specifics of your cooking. As we mentioned, Minami-Uonuma and the surrounding snow country have a long, rich food tradition, and your cooking celebrates those traditions. So, a question I have for you is, are you carrying on those traditions, or do you feel like you're changing those traditions?
First of all, for me, the first my 1 to 3 years, only I focused to learning about tradition and traditional cooking here. Because I think if I do something, I have to understand the basic concept. Then I can change something. So first of all, I just to learn everything about traditional cooking, but just not only the technique of the cooking, but because here is such a unique culture, it's let's say like a sansai and foraging. I want to see everything from scratch, how to get this sansai, not just the cooking, but I want to see how they growing up, how we can pick up, how we dry them up, everything. So first 2 3 years, I learned everything. So basically, first 2 3 years more traditional way to cooking to show this the guest. But now it's if I describe Satoyama Jujo cuisine, it's like a base of the traditional cuisine, but it's more we change a bit fine dining way.
Fine dining, but you said you're not serving a kaiseki menu.
No, it's not kaiseki, but it's not innovative. I don't know how can I describe my food, but it's not just a traditional Japanese, the traditional Niigata cuisine. I'm mixed up fine dining way.
Fine dining. But with an emphasis on natural flavors and using the fresh local ingredients. So again, how do you achieve that? How do you make sure you're achieving those things?
That's the point. It's always to go to mountain to pick a fresh food in the morning. I want to serve for straight to this table. The same feeling, same like a fresh aroma, fresh, juicy taste. So that's the way to I cooking always to go to mountain.
Terrific. You used a term there that some listeners might not know, which is sansai. Sansai is a big part of Japanese cuisine. Could you explain what sansai is and kind of what foods are included in that?
Basically, sansai is a mountain vegetable, which is like a white vegetable. It's not something cultivated or farmers to making for the vegetable. These are natural you find in the mountainside. Even in my north, now it's over 100 variety of sansai plants in there. But yes, most of them we forgot. They don't know because nowadays they don't need to go to mountain because it's such a tough to go to mountain. To takes effort to get such a plants. So the people doesn't they lost the kind of knowledge. Of course, the few sansai, like a 10, 20 famous, I wear the sansai t-shirts now.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's a podcast. Guys cannot.
But I recognize that t-shirt every time we're in Niigata. I've seen it before.
Yeah. So that's a kind of like a famous sansai, like a 20, 30 sansai is quite famous. You can buy in some local store. But for me, not only that sansai, there's so many variety of the wild plants in the mountain. Beautiful source from nature.
How common is it for high-end restaurants to feature sansai in their cooking? Is that a common thing or is there a recent trend back towards that?
Yeah, I think a recent trend back towards that a way to using for discover more natural food or local food, wild stuff. I think recently in the culinary industry to more backwards to the original.
And amongst all those sansai, as you said, there's up to 100 in your notebook now, as you just mentioned. Do you have particular favorites to forage for and to cook with?
Okay, that is udo.
Udo.
Which is like, how can I describe the udo? Do you know udo?
I don't think
sansai,
so.
Udo.
What is that?
No, okay. Wow, that's also popular sansai. It looks like it's not asparagus. It's like roots vegetables, not roots vegetable. It's like sprouts.
Actually, I'm cheating right now. As you speak, Keiko, I'm looking it up. I know this. I didn't know what it's called, though. Yeah.
You know,
it's
right?
Fantastic.
Udo is quite popular.
Absolutely. One thing I was very interested to hear when I watched the NHK program that featured you, you made a comment that when you receive your deliveries from the local suppliers each day, you don't necessarily know what you're receiving. And you then create the menu based on what you have.
Yes, exactly.
That sounds remarkable.
It's pretty tough.
Can you walk me through? Like, how do you achieve that? So how do you approach each day when you're going into the restaurant not knowing what's coming into you?
This is quite challenging. This is since I become head chef, I'm doing that. Whatever I get, I don't order to anything about this, the farmers. Whatever they get that day, I'm happy to receive it, to think about the menu. So this is so challenging first 1-2 years. Also, we have a kind of basic menu, but I changing all the time. But because this is kind of instant menu, it sometimes good, sometimes not good. So that's the standard is kind of not like a same. So that's why 1-2 years so challenging. Now kind of I got, what can I say that, like I have a lot of like a drawers. And then I just get some, I get some small daikon today just to pick up something from this farmers. And I said, I just, in my head, there's so many drawers. I can take this out using this one to mix up. And also, we not use just the fresh vegetable to get this that day. We have also preserved food in my storage area. It takes me to 10 years now, to so many variety of things. One is 8 years umeboshi. The other one is last year some miso. So I combine everything. So that's there's so many options. So people think, how can make it to just have, to take the one, instantly for this one daikon or one mushroom that get it today. No. We have a 10 years history in kitchen. So we have so many seasoning or so many, tsukemono, so many pickles. So combine everything. So that's also, for me, it's so fun. That's part of me, like I would really like it to create.
Again, there's another term there which listeners might not have heard of, which is tsukemono, which is pickled foods that are very prominent in areas like Niigata, because obviously you are preserving your food for the winter. And did you say there that some of the tsukemono that you're preparing has been fermented for up to 10 years? Yes,
right. For me, I call that its area is a labo. For me, it's a labo. Maybe it's served to the guests someday, or maybe not. I don't know. Also, it's a traditional technique, not only the local area. I learned also the overseas, any like a fermentation technique from this outside. Like, for example, I have green walnuts. We don't use a green walnut in Japan, but I don't remember, somewhere in Europe, they use a green walnuts. Then I read about this technique about green walnuts. Then I made it that's using that technique, but it turns out it's not good. Like, not Japanese doesn't like the flavor. So I leave it. But after the 4 years, I thought I should check it, this one, and check it after 4 years. Tastes so nice. Now I'm natural, more settled down. So then I use this green walnuts with potato in winter season. So it's kind of all these things happening all the time. Because in here, we get the one time it's so many stuff. Like in summer season, farmers just bring me to so many cucumbers. Like a 10 kilo cucumbers.
Yeah, I know the feeling. Yeah.
Or like a walnut season, they bring me to get so many walnuts. we can't use everything one time. So also we can preserve. So there's so many I can do.
And I know one of the other forms of traditional storage that you're using there is yukimuro, which is snow storage. Something we've touched on before in the podcast when I spoke with Hakai-san Brewery, who have a snow-aged saga that they use. Could you just explain what yukimuro is and how you use that for your preparation for your cooking?
Yukimuro is basically like a snow hut, and then it's a storage area. So outside the storage area, it's covered with snow. So we store in there some vegetables. Also, we can keep it so long, but at the same time, it's here, Uonuma area, it's a snow, is not like a powder snow, it's like a Hokkaido. Here is a snow is more moisturizing. So this is it's heavy and moisture. So which is good for the vegetables. It's also never going down to minus like 5 degrees. So keep same degrees, like I think 0 or minus 1 degrees all the time. And it's nice moisturizing area. So we store there like carrot, cabbage, sometimes potatoes. After that stands up more sweeter.
These are the very famous winter cabbages, right? Stored under the snow, and it brings out the sweetness.
Yeah, also carrot. It's quite famous for this.
The carrots as well.
Nice and sweet.
And I'm going to imagine that being obviously Niigata as well, that jibie or wild meat would feature in your cooking. A natural question is also kaisen. Being in Niigata, Niigata has fantastic seafood catchments.
Yeah, we use in winter season because we get the jibie from mountain, like wild boar, bear, deer, sometimes rabbit, but not often. But also ducks. We have a wild duck. And also the seafood, especially for the winter season, it's good for this from the South Island area. It's not good for crab and some buri, yellowtail is good. Yes, we use some seafood sometimes.
So I imagine, Keiko, your menu is changing a lot from season to season as to what's available. So if somebody is eating at Satoyama Jujo in the summer, when there's fresh produce coming out of the farms at that time, opposed to if they're coming in winter, when all the farms are buried in snow, are the menus notably different in terms of what you're serving?
Yes, definitely different. Also, the spring season, you get so many sansai mountain vegetables. If someone loves the mountain vegetable, it's spring season best. But again, if we go to winter season, we serve more like a preservation foods, like pickles, but also we serve for more jibie or some seafood from the coast side. Totally different menu.
With your background in Ayurvedic cuisine, Ayurvedic cooking, does that continue to influence the cuisine you're producing at Satoyama Jujo?
Yes, definitely. It's Ayurvedic. It's just not the Indian concept of the medical system, but this is basically on this seasonal stuff. So you just follow the season. So that's concept. I totally follow this and come back to Japan and also see your body feeling what you're feeling is all the 5 senses. How do you feel this season? All this following. Just listen to your body. Also listen to this nature. That is Ayurvedic philosophy.
Yeah, terrific. There's just so many questions I could ask you, but I don't want to take up too much of your time because I know that you're very busy. But one question I really want to get in before we finish our interview is, as said, you've been increasingly well recognized and awarded both in Japan and internationally, and a huge congratulations on that. Those awards, if I'm not mistaken, come from outside of Niigata. So I'm curious, what is the local response to your cooking and the use or your different use of traditional produce, traditional methods? Are people excited by what you're doing and the attention you're bringing to that area?
Our guests, most of this from Tokyo, and then I'm not much response from what the local people think about my cuisine because they not much come to my restaurant. But we also, at least 1 or 2 times a year, I always do invite my farmers to show them to what I cooking for the produces, and I want to feedback from them. And they really happy to what I cooking for them. that's always my best feedback from my farmers, also my local people.
I imagine those are very noisy, enjoyable dinners. Plenty of sake.
Yeah, sometimes they say, "Oh, Keiko, you should be more because my queen is a bit small, nice, and decoration stuff." But the local people love to like a big one bowl of this. Come on, Keiko, more. We have a zenmai, so get more zenmai, like one big bowl or something like that. This is so nice. You should serve more than like that, not just a small bite. But they love it, my food.
Oh, no doubt they love it, and I imagine that feedback is really invaluable, right? Because they're just going to tell you honestly what they think. And I think my experience of these areas, because one thing we haven't spoken about in our chat today is that these areas are really struggling with depopulation and economic decline because these are largely agricultural communities that are based on families. And with people leaving the areas and people having fewer children, there's no one to take over the farms. And so they have been really struggling. And so one thing I really admire about someone like yourself who is choosing to do what you do in this area rather than be in Tokyo or Kyoto, it's invaluable for these areas to put it back on the map and to bring some real pride to these people who really have such a rich culture, especially rich food culture, to share with the world. And that's kind of my final question for you. For obviously a lot of my audience, or most of my audience, is outside of Japan, but planning to come, or have been before and planning to return. So, speaking to those listeners, why do you think Minami-Uonuma and Satoyama Jujo are worth visiting? What can listeners discover there that they can't find in Tokyo or Kyoto?
Definitely, it's also this nature. It depends on the season, what you want to see, but it's also this nature. Now I'm talking to see the mountain view. That's my front is just a beautiful view surrounding the mountain. But also here is a rice producing area. You can discover so many beautiful rice and sake, which is based on the Japanese culture. I don't know, it's easy to say nature, but it's hard to describe for this nature, how beautiful it is, what the difference is in any other country, but it's just easy to come to here to see this experience and feel and smell. Even me, I was moving to here for 11 years. I never bored. Every time I see this view, it's incredible.
Are you a skier or snowboarder?
Actually, not. I should doing that, but I don't. I do surf. When I was Gold Coast, I do surf, but it's.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I should. Yes.
I tell you, that's the first disappointing answer.
I don't do ski.
that you've given. I never understand anyone who lives in these areas and doesn't ski or snowboard, but there's always time. Keiko, I'd like to say a huge thank you to you for making time to speak with me. I was really so happy when you agreed to the interview because you are increasingly recognized as one of Japan's top chefs. And I think you're doing very exciting things out there. I hope to find a way to get myself into the restaurant at some point to try for myself. And I will, in the show notes for today, of course, put links to Satoyama Jujo, the website, to your Instagram, which is really worth also following. And just, a huge congratulations for the recognition you're now getting. And I hope we have a chance to talk again in the future. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me today. And I'm so great I'm talking about myself and let's talk to this and recognize me. And thank you so much again.
That's it for today's episode. A very big thank you to Keiko for making time to speak with me and providing the images used in support for this episode. You find that on our Instagram and Facebook pages. You'll also find links to her Instagram and Satoyama Jujo's website in the show notes. The podcast website is outlandjapan.com. That's AUTLAND Japan.com. While you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube by searching Outland Japan. Thanks to everyone who is listening. I love hearing from listeners, so should you have any feedback about the pod, suggestions or requests, including if you'd like to be on the podcast or know someone who might, please get in touch. You can do so via our Instagram or Facebook. I'm usually more active checking the Instagram. I'd love to hear from you. My name is Peter Carnell. This has been Outland Japan. I'll be back with the next episode in a couple of weeks' time. Until then, bye for now.